If you think Chihuahuas are just tiny, adorable lapdogs that spend all day cuddling, you might be in for the biggest surprise of your life. Because behind those huge eyes and tiny paws is a dog that has convinced millions of people to underestimate it. And that's exactly why so many first-time Chihuahua owners end up saying, "I wish someone had warned me."
Before anyone gets upset, this isn't a Chihuahua hate video. In fact, Chihuahuas are one of the most loyal, entertaining, and fascinating dog breeds in the world. But they're also one of the most misunderstood. Too many people choose one simply because they're small, cute, and easy to carry around. Then reality hits. In this video, we're covering the biggest reasons you should never own a Chihuahua, unless you're truly prepared for what comes with one. And trust me, by the end, you'll understand why these tiny dogs have such enormous personalities.
They think they're 10 times bigger than they really are. People often assume small dogs are naturally timid. Chihuahuas completely destroy that stereotype. Many genuinely believe they're the biggest dog in the neighborhood. You'll see them confidently barking at German Shepherds, Dobermans, Huskies, or even Great Danes without a second thought. It's almost funny until you realize they actually mean it. Imagine a 5-pound dog charging toward a dog that outweighs it by more than 100 pounds. The Chihuahua isn't calculating the risk. It's acting purely on confidence. That's why walks require constant attention. You can't simply let your Chihuahua decide which dogs to greet, because while your Chihuahua may feel fearless, the larger dog may not appreciate being challenged. This bold personality is part of what makes the breed so lovable, but it also means their owners need to become their bodyguards. Sometimes protecting a Chihuahua means protecting it from its own bravery, and that fearless attitude leads directly into the next problem.
They bond so deeply that they can become overly protective.
One of the sweetest things about Chihuahuas is how deeply they love their favorite person. The downside?
The downside? Sometimes they love that person a little too much. Many Chihuahuas choose one human above everyone else. Once that bond forms, they may start acting like personal security guards. Someone walks toward you, they bark. A friend sits next to you, they bark. Your partner hugs you, sometimes they bark. It's not because they're aggressive. They're trying to do their job. In their minds, they're protecting the most important person in the world. Unfortunately, this can become possessiveness if owners unknowingly reward the behavior, picking the dog up every time it growls, laughing when it snaps, allowing it to decide who comes close. These small moments teach the Chihuahua that guarding works. The good news? With proper socialization and consistent training, most Chihuahuas can learn that visitors aren't enemies. But if you're looking for a dog that instantly loves every stranger, this probably isn't the breed for you. And speaking of strangers, wait until we talk about what happens when you leave the house.
They don't always like being left alone. Despite their independent attitude, many Chihuahuas become incredibly attached to their owners. Some follow you from room to room like a tiny shadow. They're under your feet. Working at your desk, they're probably asleep on your lap. It's adorable until you leave. Some Chihuahuas experience separation anxiety. That anxiety can show up in different ways: constant barking, whining, scratching at doors, pacing, or becoming unusually stressed until you return. This doesn't mean every Chihuahua struggles with being alone. Many do perfectly well when gradually taught that alone time is normal. The problem happens when owners never help them build confidence. If your Chihuahua spends every minute attached to you, being alone suddenly feels frightening. That's why independence should be trained just as carefully as obedience. Small moments alone throughout the day help build a much more confident dog. And confidence matters because the next issue can become surprisingly expensive. If you're enjoying the video so far, let me know something in the comments. Does your Chihuahua think it's the boss of the house? Or is it secretly the sweetest cuddle bug ever? Every Chihuahua has a completely different personality, and I'd love to hear your stories. And if you're learning something new today, don't forget to like the video and subscribe, because we've got plenty more Chihuahua content coming your way. Now let's talk about one challenge that almost every owner eventually faces. They're much more fragile than they look. Here's something many new owners don't realize. A Chihuahua's biggest enemy often isn't another dog. It's everyday life. Because they're so tiny, accidents that barely affect larger dogs can become serious. Jumping off a high couch, getting stepped on accidentally, falling from someone's arms, playing too roughly with large dogs. Even excited children can unintentionally hurt them. That means Chihuahua owners
constantly develop little habits, looking before taking a step, checking blankets before sitting down, making sure doors close gently, watching every interaction with bigger pets. Some people describe owning a Chihuahua as living with a tiny, fearless athlete who has absolutely no understanding of physics, and that's surprisingly accurate. They'll launch themselves off furniture without considering the landing. They'll squeeze through spaces you didn't think possible. They'll climb onto places that seem impossible for such a small dog. Their confidence is enormous. Their bones, not so much. Which brings us to one of the biggest misconceptions about the breed.
They aren't low maintenance just because they're small. People often assume small dog equals easy dog. That's one of the biggest mistakes new owners make. Sure, a Chihuahua doesn't eat much. It doesn't require hours of daily exercise. But mentally, they're incredibly active. These dogs are smart, very smart. Without enough mental stimulation, they create their own entertainment. Sometimes that's barking at every passing leaf. Sometimes it's digging through blankets. Sometimes it's stealing socks. Sometimes it's inventing games you'd rather they didn't play. Training sessions don't need to be long. Even 5 or 10 minutes a day can make a huge difference. Puzzle toys, scent games, learning tricks, short walks, meeting new people safely. All of these help keep a Chihuahua mentally satisfied. Ignore those needs, and that tiny dog may suddenly develop some very loud opinions about everything happening outside your window. Now, here's the part that surprises almost everyone. The biggest challenge of owning a Chihuahua isn't actually the Chihuahua, it's the humans.
People often create the problems they blame on the breed. Let's be honest, if a Labrador jumped on guests, most owners would correct it. If a German Shepherd barked non-stop, people would immediately start training. But when a Chihuahua does those exact same behaviors, many people laugh. It's cute. It's tiny. It can't hurt anyone. That's where problems begin. Because dogs don't understand size. They understand consistency. A Chihuahua needs boundaries just like any other breed. When owners excuse behaviors simply because the dog weighs 5 pounds, those behaviors become habits. That's why you'll often hear people describe Chihuahuas as yappy, aggressive, or difficult. But many experienced trainers see something different. They see dogs that were never taught what was expected. The Chihuahua isn't being stubborn. It's simply repeating behaviors that have worked before. This is also why well-trained Chihuahuas can completely change people's opinions. They're calm, friendly, confident, polite, still full of personality, just without all the unnecessary drama. In many cases, the difference isn't genetics, it's guidance.
So, should you never own a Chihuahua? Not exactly. You just shouldn't own one because it's tiny. Choose one because you appreciate its personality, its loyalty, its confidence, its intelligence, its hilarious attitude, and yes, even its stubborn streak. A Chihuahua isn't a decorative accessory. It's a real dog with real emotional and physical needs. Treat it that way, and you'll likely gain one of the most devoted companions you'll ever have. Ignore those needs, and both you and your dog may end up frustrated.
The funny thing about Chihuahuas is that the very traits people complain about are often the same traits that owners fall in love with. That fearless confidence, that endless loyalty, that oversized personality packed into such a tiny body. Maybe that's why. Once someone truly understands the breed, they often can't imagine owning anything else. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who's thinking about getting a Chihuahua. And if you'd like even more Chihuahua tips, training advice, health guides, and exclusive content, be sure to join my newsletter. It's a great way to stay connected and never miss helpful updates between videos. If you want to go a step further, you can also become a channel member for exclusive perks, bonus content, and extra behind-the-scenes material created just for our community. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, remember, sometimes the smallest dogs leave the biggest paw prints on our lives.